The problems that may have arisen from the Affordable Care Act is not because government's too involved in the process. The problem is that we have not reached everybody and pulled them in. It may be that the economics of it just don't work unless the government is providing an option to make it affordable. If no private insurers are providing affordable insurance in an area, then the government would step in with a quality plan that people can afford.
Well, that's President Obama talking about his signature health care law and what needs to be changed, in his words, and that is the public option making a comeback. That was talked about and dismissed when the law was put together. This as we get some new stats about Obamacare. The CBO estimates that it is going to cost net cost to the federal government $220 billion from 2014 to 2016, but over the next 10 years, the projected net cost $1.4 trillion. There are at least 1.4 million people in 32 states that will lose their Obamacare plan coming soon because they are some of those groups and organizations, the companies are pulling out of the states. It could mean that Obamacare shrinks in size. Enrollment next year range from 8% decline to 4% gain in there. And also states with a single marketplace insurer, there are now Alabama, Alaska, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Wyoming, only single insurers, and others have seen it diminish. So what about the state of Obamacare? Bill?
No surprise. Even the architects knew that. Remember Jonathan Gruber talking about the stupidity of the American people, that the individual mandate was really a tax, and this was a redistribution. This was always a big government program, which doesn't work. It means less competition despite all the calls for marketplaces and so forth and competitive pressures, so less competition. And the answer, as usual, is bigger government and more government, which is going to make it worse. This is how these things work.
So for Hillary Clinton, she goes down the public option road and says that this is the solution.
She has to, and she may have the Senate, she may have the House. That's a little further, that's a little more of a stretch, but she may have a lot of capital to do it, and she's wanted it for a very long time. It was funny in his remarks today, President Obama actually compared his own signature legislation to a Samsung Galaxy 7, which of course is exploding in people's pockets. And he said, you don't get rid of the phone, you don't go back to rotary phone if your phone starts exploding. I mean, I think for him to make that concession and that really compared to exploding explosions, right, is pretty remarkable, and it just goes to show that something will have to change no matter who's president. Trump says he's going to repeal. Hillary, I think we go toward the single-payer option.
Caitlin, but doesn't this issue empower some of those Republicans down ballot and some of those races who say, listen, if we lose, who knows what's going to happen with this health care law?
This is an example of a situation where you talk to Republicans, and this is the issue that they want to be talking about this week, last week. Open enrollment is coming up. That's why the president went down there. They see this as a huge opening to help elect, to your point, Republicans down the ballot to make these changes. They have proposed a few things. They voted on things in the House, as we know, but they haven't been able to pass any legitimate changes to this, big changes. And that is something that Trump, I think, should be interested in if he wants to make the changes that he says he wants to make.
And of course, the former president, we remember him weighing in. It's been a focus. Take a listen.
The people that are getting killed in this deal are small business people and individuals who make just a little too much to get into these subsidies. So you've got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care, and then the people are out there busting it sometimes 60 hours a week, wind up with their premiums doubled and their coverage cut in half.
There was some reporting that he had somehow gotten that criticism cleared through the White House. We can't confirm that, and don't think that they would like to call it crazy.
Probably not. And what's interesting here is that Obamacare top lobbyists are actually saying that a public option would be a disaster. But let's be clear, Obamacare is a policy disaster, and it's politically foolish for them to push for a public option. It's a disaster for the reasons that Bill Clinton stated, and the fact that it's killing businesses, it's killing the middle class. It's also, we've seen insurance premiums increase exponentially, as well as deductibles skyrocketing. And politically, it's a disaster because, look, Obamacare was politically poisonous for Democrats in 2010 and 2014 as well. And if you push for the public option, you're reigniting this debate for Republicans, not just this election cycle, but also looking to 2018, when Democrats are defending 25 seats, and 4 of which are in red states that President Obama lost in 2008 and 2012. So you're just asking to reignite that debate.
Bill, do Republicans have the alternative yet? You know, Paul Ryan was working on getting one, but he couldn't herd the cats around one plan.
And part of it is he didn't have the person at the top of the ballot leading that charge. There's a lot of different ways to do this. I think what's going to be interesting, if Mrs. Clinton wins, as we expect, and she gets a Democratic House, I agree. I think she's going to have a hard time going to the public option because a lot of those guys are going to say that's what cost our seats last time. So she's going to be in a real problem because Obamacare is going to get worse. And the solution that she's campaigning on is going to be very, very politically difficult for her fellow Democrats to swallow.
And is the solution, from a Republican point of view, the increased marketplaces, the cross-border, insurance across state lines?
Certainly, but that's obviously not going to be enough either. I mean, you're not going to. It's not politically feasible to start kicking people off health care either. If they have Obamacare, they have health insurance, and you start taking that away from people, that's politically disastrous as well. So I think Republicans are real bind. You have to give it to President Obama. Obamacare is really smart, and it's now at the point where everybody agrees it's exploding, and you have to do something with it. And I mean, the public option this is going to be the fight for the next 5 years, and it's coming.
If Clinton does get let's just say, sweeps the whole thing, what's the one thing she pushes first?
Well, she's talked about doing immigration reform in the first 100 days, I believe. I think there are also lessons, of course, though, to be learned about a president with a majority in Congress. Obamacare is the prime example. President Obama passed one of his first initiatives, passed that with no Republican support. I think that is a lesson to anyone who is president, that you have to pass these bills with support from the other party. Get that buy-in. That's why it was so hard for him to sell this, and also to sell when it was having trouble.
We will see. 19 days. It's a long time in politics. Panel, thank you very much.